Hello, Judge. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Bro, hello.
Hey, Mr. Bro, you're still muted.
I think I'm unmuted now.
Now you're unmuted. Okay.
Yeah, let me-
Okay.
I had a meeting today. You don't have
See if everybody's here. I think everybody is here. Before we get started, I'll just let everybody know we had 30 minutes set aside for this and have a temporary hearing going on. So we paused it to hear the summary judgment. So I'll give each side about 15 minutes. So everybody ready to proceed?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is cause number 2018L 7183 in the interest of OFB and SEB children. See, Mr. Ballard and Mr. Bro are here. Mr. Bro, this is your no evidence summary judgment.
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, and as I said, I give each side about 15 minutes to argue. So Mr. Bro, you may proceed.
Judge, this case was filed in May of last year, so it has been on the court's docket for over a year. And they have done some discovery in this case. They've taken depositions by written questions, obtaining the records of several banks, and that they have attached those items. I think they've attached most of them, if not all of them, to their response to the motion for no evidence. The motion for their original case says that Stephanie Bolton failed to disclose community property belonging to the community estate of Robert Bagnell and Stephanie Bagnell, and that she claimed this to be her separate property. We're saying that this is not true. The mediated settlement agreement, which is attached to our motion for no evidence, does not list any property that Stephanie Bolton claims to be her separate property. And the decree of divorce, which we asked the court to take judicial notice of, we attach page 31 through 39, does not disclose any property that Stephanie Bolton is claiming to be her separate property. Also, the way the mediated settlement agreement reads, the property division is as follows. Each awarded the cash accounts, cars, in their respective names and possession except as attached in Exhibit 1. And I think that relates to the proceeds of the sale of the house. And the decree of divorce also says all sums of cash in possession of wife or husband and subject to his or her control, including funds on deposit, and together with anything that's accrued but unpaid in bank savings accounts, which accounts stand in the wife's husband's sole name, from which the wife or husband has the sole right to withdraw funds. They're subject to their sole control. Those are provisions from the decree dividing the community property of the parties. Also, we think the way that the decree was written, it doesn't divide specific property and specific accounts. It just divides anything that is in the name and subject to control of the wife or husband. I think the way the decree was actually drafted, I'm not sure that there is any way to determine that there is any separate property belonging to either of the parties. But we take a look at their response, and they have attached 11. I think they've attached multiple items, which, if we look at them, they don't prove that Stephanie Bolton has anything of any value that she is claiming as separate property, or that was not divided by the parties. At best, when we look at their response, we find an RB drilling account at Wells Fargo Bank. RB Drilling is Robert Bagnell. That was his account. And in addition to him signing on the account, Stephanie Bolton signed on the account. But when we get through this, when we go look at the actual exhibits, those exhibits do not show that account or any of these accounts had any money in them at either the time of the mediated settlement agreement, when the parties made their agreement to divide the community property, or anything that is contained in the decree of divorce. We do also show that they discovered a Wells Fargo safety deposit box, but they didn't determine that Wells Fargo safety deposit box had anything in it that was any value. And with so far that safety deposit box, although just the fact that there is a safety deposit box does not prove that there is anything of value. I did communicate with Mr. Ballard and offer to meet with him and Stephanie Bolton at Wells Fargo Bank, with or without Robert Bagnell, and show them the contents of that box. We believe that what's in that box are 2 insurance policies, which insure the life of Stephanie Bolton, and the beneficiaries are the children Stella and Olivia. Those items were specifically divided and given to Stephanie Bolton. We also believe that there may be 1 or 2 passports in that safety deposit box, 1 or 2, at least one of which is probably expired, and that there may be copies of birth certificates of the 2 children. At any rate, those items we did not disclose during the items that are in the box. I think we've disclosed, but we didn't disclose the safety deposit box. But the fact that wasn't disclosed doesn't mean that there was anything in it of any value that should be given to Robert Bagnell. Particularly since at least the 2 of the items that we know about that we believe are there are the insurance policies that were specifically given to Stephanie Bolton. The reason for these provisions that we have is that if there is anything that is not divided that has a value, that the person who didn't disclose it and who has possession of it then is obligated to give it to the person who was not in possession of it. But in this case, we don't have anything of any value, one. And two, Mr. Bagnell and Mr. Ballard never at any time asked to see the contents of that safety deposit box. And after they filed their response to this motion for no evidence summary judgment, we offered to show it to them, and they did not avail themselves of that opportunity at any time this week, although we told them we would make ourselves available to show it to them at any time this week. With regard to their evidence, they list bank accounts, and I've gone through and analyzed their proof. They've listed interrogatories to Stephanie Bolton. They've listed responses to written interrogatories. They've listed requests for production. They've listed responses to the request for production. But none of those things show any property that belonged to Stephanie Bolton that was not divided by the parties in their mediated settlement agreement or was not formalized in their January 19 final decree of divorce. One of the things that they have listed is and several things that they list, although some of them are bank accounts, one of the things that they have listed, they've listed credit cards. Credit cards show money that was spent during the divorce. It doesn't show any property that was separate property that was not divided by the parties. We also have an inventory and appraisal, which lists existing banks where money is held, Wells Fargo, Capital One, and also lists credit card statements, Discovery, and also the Chase credit cards. And the inventory and appraisal also lists the two insurance policies in the life of Stephanie Bolton, where the children are the beneficiaries. When we're looking at all of these accounts, I think there's only one account that is not zeroed out before the mediated settlement agreement or the final decree of divorce. Some of those were zeroed out by Stephanie Bolton. Some of those were zeroed out by Robert Bagnell. At any rate, I don't think there's anything that they've presented as proof that shows that there was any property that was not divided in the mediated settlement agreement and was not finally formalized in the final decree of divorce. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Ballard?
Yes, sir. Judge, Mr. Bro presents arguments right for a trial as to whether or not there was value. Basically, in the no evidence summary judgment, it's the burden of the move-in for genuine issue of fact, of material fact. And I believe that with the exhibits, the requests prior to the divorce and the answers that Ms. Bolton has made at the time clearly exhibits that there were assets that were not disclosed. And as far as my responsibility and my burden is just to show in this case that there are issues of material fact that can be presented at a trial. And I believe with these accounts that I've produced and these exhibits that I've produced, I believe that that raises material issues to have a trial on. Just because a degree of divorce doesn't prohibit Mr. Bagnall's right from bringing this. That's clearly stated in on page 4 of my answer with some case law. Mr. Bagnall's right to bring this action is also in the Texas Family Code. We believe, based on the existence, well, the fact that this safe deposit box exists, it creates a material issue. I don't have to offer my proof as to whether or not there is actually value in a no evidence summary judgment hearing. I just have to prove that there is an element, which would be an asset, that was not disclosed. And I believe whether the asset that would have or would not have been in the safe deposit box, at least at this time or any other time prior to or during the final hearing, I don't have to prove that it has value at this time. What I have to prove is that it was failed to be disclosed. It could have had value, and that would be my burden at a trial on the merits of this case, is to prove what the value was. And based on the fact that, for example, just the existence of the safe deposit box alone and it not being disclosed, I believe we have met our burden in stating that there is actually a material issue here for the trial court to decide whether there was value in that. So we believe that the court should deny their motion for summary judgment and allow Mr. Bagnall to present his evidence of value. The argument is that there was nothing there, or there was no, the accounts were empty. Well, that's for us to prove and us to track and us to show. But again, my argument, and I believe my burden, is to create and show the court that there is a genuine issue of material fact. And I believe that that has been done. We would ask the court to deny the motion and allow Mr. Bagnall to continue his prosecution of this charge.
All right. Mr. Bro, any response?
Yes, Your Honor. What he has to show is that there is something, and this is what his pleading says, that has to show that there is something that was community property that she is claiming as her separate property. And in order for there to be any recovery, there has to be some value associated with that. So I don't think under their pleadings, they have shown anything that she is claiming as personal, as separate property. And we don't show that in either the mediated settlement agreement. We don't show that in the decree. And they have not proven that she has anything that is separate property that has any value. Like I say, at most they have a safety deposit box, but that safety deposit box could be empty. They haven't shown that there is anything that of value in it to divide or to turn over to Mr. Bagnall.
All right. Okay, well, I'm going to look through some of the exhibits that were attached, and I will contact both sides with the ruling on the motion. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge.